I think the next item.
Well, my laptop has been going blank while I'm in the middle of, but it's still working. So I was on a Zoom meeting yesterday, and I could still hear everyone, and they could still hear me, and they could see me, but I couldn't see them,
Is
so.
Mr. Mays here?
The note
He's just not
at Jado last night.
Oh, yeah, that was,
I finally called Curtis. I said, I can't get on. So he said, well, let me resend you the link and all that. And I said, it's exactly what I had before. But it finally all kind of fired up. I don't know. It took a while.
it did.
We'll begin this morning with a Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the September 9, 2021 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair this year, also representing District 2. Joining me this morning is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Commissioner Aaron Mays, representing District 3. Good morning.
Morning.
Madam Clerk, our first item.
Our first item is item 3, consent agenda.
There are 4 items on the consent agenda. Are there any questions or is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business, A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers totaling $1,941,242.67. There are some highlights under there to point out. Under building and maintenance for Mare Creek for $11,240.40 is for concrete work at Tin Man Circle and at Forbes Golf Course. Under sales tax to Kansas Gas Service for $26,438.87 is for adding additional service at the event center. And then under equipment fund to Sound Products Incorporated for $64,656.30 is for the jail security hardware and software upgrades. And then under infrastructure, there's 3 items. 2 to Finney and Turnip Seed. 1 is for $35,000 for design services on the 45th Street and California to Croco Road project, and then also $95,000 is for construction inspection services at 45th and Barrington. And then Ham Incorporated for $218,914.01 is for the 45th and Barrington Road project. I don't have any questions about any of this. I move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook. Second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, District Attorney number 1, consider approval of the request to designate ARPA funds for the hiring and training of 3 new legal assistants at an annual cost with benefits of $57,703.20 per position, as well as sufficient funding to maintain the positions for the next 3 years.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Kage, Shawnee County DA. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you yet again on this issue. As you will recall, this was part of our initial budget request. The budget process is over and done with, but it became clear that the ARPA funds were a realistic and appropriate use to fill these positions because we're working through this backlog. When I was talking to you during the budget process, I wasn't sure if it was going to be 2 to 3 years. At this point, I'm very confident saying it will be 3 years, if not longer, and I don't know when things are going to go back to the way they were before. We are working through trials now. We've had a number of murder cases. If you follow the news, murder cases and sex cases go to trial, and so that's good, but we also have new ones coming in. And so we've just, because the courts were shut down for that period of time and we didn't have jury trials, those cases are just sitting there and we're chipping off on this side and new ones are coming in on the other. We're treading water. Some of us feel like we're underwater right now, and so we need some rescue funds in order to to come out of that.
I guess maybe my question is to Betty. I know that the Spark Committee is continuing to meet to discuss the use of the ARPA funds and working with the consultant as to what is appropriate and what is not. At this time, with the district attorney requesting that amount be set aside from ARPA, is it appropriate for us to take action now, or where do we stand?
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. The Spark Committee has voted to approve the use of ARPA funds for this project for these 3 employees. The only requirement on that the committee has is that, and so that is a recommendation to the commission for your action, but the only stipulation on that is that this is just for the period of the backlog, the judicial backlog, and at the end of that backlog, then the ARPA funds will no longer be available.
Well, I think, though, we need to have some definition of what is backlog. The ARPA funds only extend for a maximum of 4 years.
Correct.
And so if the district attorney is saying that, during the budget discussion, we had about that when the ARPA funds dissolved, he would either have to dissolve the positions or have to ask the commission to supplement his budget by that amount. And given that...
He's mentioned here 3 years.
Okay.
The ARPA funds can be committed through December 31st of 2024. So if we're starting the 3 years now, that should be fine.
Okay.
But it would not be able to extend past the December 31st of 2024.
Okay. Do we want to say specifically December 31st of 2024 is when it would expire? Just, again, I think that it's important that we make the record clear now, so the district attorney has that built into his budget. The district attorney may find that he becomes a federal judge, and then there's a new district attorney.
I think we've got to make it clear, though, that it ends when the backlog ends, or December 31st of 2024, whichever comes first.
All right.
Because
Commissioner
if they come up with the backlog, earlier than that, then we'd need to do that.
Has our consultant reviewed this particular case here?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions for Betty or for Mr. Kaye? Okay. Is there anything additional you want to add, or?
I can just confirm, Commissioner Cook, that I will not be a federal judge or any other kind of judge. I'll be in this position.
Never say
December
never.
31st of 2024. I can confirm that.
Never say never. So, anyway, at this time, then, I would make a motion to approve the request for the district attorney use of the ARPA funds for the 3 positions at a cost of $57,703.20 per position, and that will be through December the 31st of 2024.
Or when the judicial backlog.
Or when the judicial backlog ends.
Ends, yes.
And that is a motion.
I'll second.
I don't know if there's any defining moment for when
Yeah.
the judicial backlog ends.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Your work never stops, right? I mean, it's, yeah.
If it happens, I will let you know.
Okay,
And
all
we'll
right,
celebrate
sure.
that.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, and then Commissioner Rippon, did you second that?
I did.
So motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item C, Public Works, number 1, consider approval of the following. A, sole source authorization request to hire Bartlett & West, Inc. to update plans created for BNSF Railway Company in 2017. And B, contract C-293-2021 for design services with Bartlett & West, Inc. for the rail crossing removal and pavement replacement on South Topeka Boulevard, just south of Southwest University Boulevard, at a lump sum cost of $15,000 utilizing operational funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. I've been at Public Shawnee County for coming up on 3 years, and during that time I've received a number of complaints about the abandoned crossing on South Topeka Boulevard, especially in the southbound direction. Quite frankly, I'm getting tired of the complaints. So In 2017, Bartlett and West prepared plans for the BNSF Railroad to remove the southbound crossing. The reason that it's southbound only is because the southbound was the original lane of Topeka Boulevard. It was there before the railroad, ironically. And so the crossing there was considered BS railroad trackage at that time, Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe. When the northbound lanes were put in the 40s, I think, in conjunction with the building of Forbes Air Force Base, that side was considered industrial trackage, and Santa Fe Railroad did not claim ownership of that. So that's why in 2017, BNSF hired Bartlett and West to prepare plans to remove the abandoned crossing in the southbound lanes. I'm tired of asking the railroad to remove that trackage, so we're just going to do it ourselves. That's why I'm here before you, asking you to authorize a sole source contract with Bartlett and West to modify the 2017 plans to, number one, update them for the latest traffic control standards, and number two, to add the northbound lanes, which the railroad was not responsible for. So for once and for all, I can get this crossing out of here. We can do normal maintenance on South Topeka Boulevard. So with your questions,
Commissioner
I look
Reyes?
forward.
So Kurt, I assume we have permission from BNSF to remove the tracks?
They know. I've talked to them about it. In fact, they have offered to remove the trackage. But let's be careful what that means. That involves less than 7% of our project cost here. And it required 7 days of advance notice. That's 14 days total. That is not a good thing, because that's 14 days that our project is in place on the roadway, so that's greater risk to the traveling public. Number two, the fact that our contractor has to coordinate with a railroad is not in itself good news, and it would tend to drive up the cost of the project. So even though the railroad has agreed, and I appreciate that, to remove the trackage, that is a relatively small portion of the project. We gain little benefit from it, so I'd rather just do this ourselves, cut the railroad out, minimize the project time, and maximize the efficiency, and get this thing moving.
I guess what I'm trying to get at, though, is that, is there any way that the railroad can come back and say that we were not supposed to remove it in the first place?
No, I've talked to a gentleman that represents the railroad. He's okay with it.
Turning to our legal counsel, Mr. Crowell, your opinion?
Well, I'm going to rely on Kurt. Do you have documentation of those discussions?
I have some emails.
As long as we have documentation that the railroad is not making any claims related to this, or would not make claims, what I'm hearing you say is they have the responsibility to remove it, not the right to remove it, but the responsibility to remove it and to contribute to removing it. And what you're saying is it'll be more expensive to do it that way than to do it in the way that you're proposing.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And number two, let's be clear here, this abandoned trackage, it does not connect to anything. If you go on both sides of Topeka Boulevard, the trackage is gone. It's a remnant. That's all it is.
Commissioner Rippon?
Will they still have a right-of-way through there?
No?
Okay. Is there any signage or anything like that that needs to be removed as part of this project or anything like that?
Nope. All the crossing gates, advanced signing have been removed a long time ago.
But there are tracks.
There's tracks. It's rotted trackage. That's why we can't. We could put asphalt down and try to improve the ride, but the ties are so rotted, we think the asphalt would quickly come out. So really, the only solution that I think is viable and long-term is to just remove everything.
Kurt, can you walk us through the timeline of the project? Are you closing an entire southbound and then closing an entire northbound?
No, sir. We're going to leave one lane open at all times. That's what the traffic control is for. What we'll do is we'll build 2 temporary crossovers. We'll move For example, we'll move northbound traffic over to one of the southbound lanes, so there'll be head-to-head traffic. They'll work freely in the northbound lanes without any risk of hazard, and then we'll switch them, and they'll do the same thing for the southbound lanes.
The timeline for this to be done?
I'd like to get this thing let as soon as possible, and I'm guessing maybe 2 to 3 weeks total, max.
Are you anticipating, though, it would be done before the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions?
Well, not so much a question, but a comment. I mean, I get these same complaints, and I drive out there on a regular basis, and it is kind of weird. Why are there train tracks in the middle of Topeka Boulevard? So I'm ready to get them out of there too.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item C2, consider authorization and execution of contracts C 294-2021 through C 296-2021. 3 agreements with Foley Equipment to purchase 2 Caterpillar motor graders and 1 Caterpillar excavator using a government purchasing cooperative at a cost of $678,858 minus value of trade-ins of no less than $200,000.
Good morning, Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. I know you just approved the 2022 budget, and I already would like to spend 2022 funds. You might say, well, why am I doing this? Well, number one is I want to lock in costs. We've started negotiating with Caterpillar and John Deere many months ago at the beginning of the year, and during that time, I've already seen or missed one price increase with Caterpillar that cost us $10,000. So I'd like to lock in costs of this new equipment. Now's the time to be selling our old equipment. So it's a great time to get rid of this old equipment. Caterpillar is the world leader in construction equipment. And if anyone can get rid of this old equipment, it's them at a great price or a good price. They can either sell this stuff domestically after they put some money into them to bring them up to the latest safety standards, or they can sell them internationally. And quite frankly, we all know about how long it takes to get delivery of this equipment, and so I'm just trying to get a jump on delivery time. I'd like to get something delivered during the year that we've budgeted for it. So that's the reason I'm doing this. And what I would like to do is buy 2 new motor graders and trade in 8 existing motor graders as credit, keep the best existing motor grader that we have. So by sometime, let's say July 1 of next year, I would have 3 motor graders instead of the 9 that we have now. You might ask, well, how are you going to get away with so few motor graders? Well, I suspect these motor graders date from 1985 to the present, not all the way to the present. I suspect in 1985, when we bought the first of these motor graders, we had a lot more gravel roads in the county. So the need for motor graders was greater than it is now. We feel we can get by with 3 motor graders. Don't forget, Monmouth Township has 1 themselves, so in the county we'll have 4. Furthermore, I'd like to take 2 track excavators, 2 existing track excavators, and 1 track loader, and use that as trade-in for 1 new track excavator. Why? Well, the 99 Komatsu is a service hog. The 2008 New Holland is a parts oddball. We struggle to find parts for that piece of equipment, and it's way too big for our needs. So again, we'd like to trade in those 2 track excavators for a new one, a cat excavator. And then our 2 track loaders, 1 will be used as seed money for the new track excavator, and then we'll keep the best track loader. So in July of 2022, we should have 5 pieces of equipment where now we have 13. And we'll get along just fine. Because if we run into a real bad snowstorm where we need more motor graders, we can rent motor graders. If we run into a project where we need a bigger piece of a tracked vehicle, tracked piece of equipment, we can rent one. So this is the best thing to do for Shawnee County. Number one, it aligns our fleet with our needs. It makes our, it takes some pressure off of our maintenance folks because this new equipment will come with either a 7 or 9 year maintenance contract and a warranty. After the period of this 7 or 9 years, depending on the piece of equipment, we'll have a minimum buyback. And so this gives the county more options down the road. We shouldn't be keeping equipment for 35 years. I don't know if that really makes a lot of business sense. There's a sweet spot for equipment. Caterpillar thinks it's 7 to 9 years. And if that's true, in 7 to 9 years, we can trade this equipment in at that minimum trade-in value or higher and possibly pay for half the cost of a new piece of equipment. So that, in a nutshell, is what I'm trying to do. I need 2022 funds to do that. Some of those funds will come out of our special machinery fund, which is normal. And I'm asking for a maximum, as per the budget request, a maximum of $300,000 in capital outlay funds. I'm a realist, though. When I wrote this memo, you will notice I put the capital outlay funds balance at $2 million. In the intervening period, that has shrunk to $721,780. So I know, being realistic, that I probably won't end up with $300,000. But nevertheless, that any money that you allocate to Public Works will go toward this purchase. Questions?
Questions for Kurt? I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item C3, consider authorization and execution of contract C297-2021 with MCON Inc., Barrington, Kansas, for on-call emergency wastewater collection system repair services from September 1, 2021 to August 31, 2024.
Courtney House, Director of Public Works. Effective August 31st of this year, our present contract for on-call emergency wastewater repair services expired. And when we renewed that contract last year, the commission requested that we put it out for, I guess, proposals for this year, and we've done that. At the end of the 8/27 closing date, and thank you to Audit Finance for assisting us with these advertisements and solicitations. As of the 8/27/21 closing date, we had one vendor that submitted a proposal. It was MCON. They're the same vendor that we have been working with for the past 6 years on the prior contract. So I'm asking your permission to enter into a contract with MCON for another contract, a 3-year contract for the same type of services with 3 one-year optional extensions. That would make for 6 years total, which I think is in agreement with our purchasing policy. MCON has done a great job for us. We have used them on a number of occasions. They built Pump Station 60 in 2019. They've also done some collection system repairs for us over the past 2 or 3 years. I'm sure they've done more prior to my time here, but during my time here, they've done a couple repairs that were very appreciated, and it's nice to have them on board for emergency services. Your questions?
Questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item D, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C300-2021 with HR Partners LLC for staff training on workplace etiquette and boundaries at a cost of $1,800 with funding from the department's operational budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. We did discuss this training with Angela Lewis in the HR department before coming up here today. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Tim? Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays. Is there a second? I'll second. Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item D2, consider approval of a request to solicit bids to repair a light pole at the Lake Shawnee tennis courts at an estimated cost of $15,604 with funding from the department's operating budget.
Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation. So we have a light pole in the middle of the courts here that's been leaning for some time. Now we've got some lights out that need to be repaired. So by the time we go in and do some concrete footing work, get a new pole straightened up, replace the lights, we think it's going to cost around $15,000, but we'd like to go out for bids and find out exactly what we're looking at.
Questions? Motion.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item E, Court Administration, number 1, consider approval of an emergency purchase for drug treatment court for 2 female clients at a cost of $5,346 each, utilizing the 2021 Court Administration budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. Normally, court services, or normally our drug treatment court refers individuals to Vallejo Recovery Center for inpatient residential treatment services. Due to COVID-19, Vallejo is only accepting male patients, so we sent 2 female patients to DCCA in Lawrence, and they have a First Step facility, and that's the nearest residential treatment facility for females. So that's what this request is for, 2 individuals through drug treatment court.
And the reason it's on the agenda is it's due to it not being available under contract with Vallejo, which is why we have this other vendor.
Correct, in the fact that the 2 treatment costs exceed $10,000.
Okay. Questions?
No.
No, well, I guess I do have a question.
Yes.
Do you anticipate that we're going to have to do this time and time again?
Until Vallejo starts accepting female patients again, probably so. I know that we've had at least 2 other females that have been through residential treatment at DCCA, but those billings came in one at a time, so it didn't require commission approval because it was a $5,000 expense. But I do anticipate that we will have additional females. Our female, the percentage of drug treatment court participants that's female is about 25%, so we don't have near the numbers going through there as we do the males.
I think the question may be, though, if we're going to have repeat customers or clientele going to DECA, why not create a contract with DECA for that service at a set amount, as opposed to piece by piece?
Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. We currently have a contract with Vallejo. So we would have to work with the counselor's office to make sure that a new contract would work within the confines of the existing contract we have.
Right.
And what they do for the others that we have had that have been one at a time that were under the 10,000, they do send an emergency purchase to me, and this is an emergency purchase because it cannot fall within our current contract. So, but yes, I don't think I just think we have to be mindful of the contract we currently have in Vallejo that is in place.
Okay. Very good. I appreciate that.
Well, but if we could just try and figure out something so that, you don't have to come back every week,
You don't
twice
want
a
to
week.
see me every week? Is that the deal?
Yeah, it's nothing to do with that. I just, I know your time is valuable, so, I mean, anything we can do to try and, increase the efficiency. of
I'll
this
visit
stuff.
with Amanda Wilson, our drug treatment court coordinator, and also Jim Crowell, and see what we can do.
As to this request, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item.
Item F, Information Technology, number 1, consider approval of request to advertise and fill an open information technology specialist 1 position at a starting salary, including benefits, of $57,299.80.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat O'Blain with the Information Technology Department. Due to a retirement that we've had occur, we're asking to advertise and fill for this position. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Questions for Pat?
No, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item F2, consider authorization and execution of contract C298-2021, renewal of the annual maintenance agreement with Mark Andy Inc. for 2 folder sealers used to prepare vendor and voucher checks for mailing and for folding W-2s and 1099s at year end at a cost of $3,052.92 with funding from the 2021 departmental budget.
Pat O'Blander again with IT. This is a couple of pieces of equipment that are used by IT and several other departments, as mentioned in the memo. Quite a few things pass through those pieces of equipment, so we would like to keep those maintained and ready for action whenever they're called on. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Questions for Pat?
I'm just curious, how old are those machines and how much do they cost to replace?
I think that they're both over 10 years old each, but they are still perfectly capable of being serviced. We do keep both of them up and running so that if one fails, we have another one on hand. As far as purchasing a new one, I think it would be significantly more expensive to purchase new ones than to pay the annual maintenance fees. I don't have the exact price on those, but the last time we looked at it, I remember them being significantly higher. So,
Well, I just wondered at some point, we need to figure out what the life expectancy is even with service.
Yes.
Are parts going to be available? It seems like any piece of equipment that we have, at some point they just stop making the parts and we we end up having to replace it one way or another. So we may want to just kind of poke around a little bit and figure out if that's something that we need to start thinking about.
yeah, we will certainly do that.
Any comments or discussion?
I would think maybe in the future, more of this would be done electronically, and maybe they're reduce the need for these machines.
That would be my hope also, but some
You
things
never know.
just never seem to go away.
Yeah.
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. We do continue to try to decrease the number of checks that we do for our accounts payable. There are some things such as juror pay, board workers, those kind of things that will be very hard to change to completely electronic. Especially the juror pay is something we will probably need to continue to pay by check for some time in the future.
Motion?
I'll move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item F3, consider authorization and execution of contract C299-2021 with Veritiv Corporation to renew the annual maintenance agreement, reference C254-2020, for 2 Liebert uninterruptible power supplies to support the V-Block virtual computing environment. How'd you like that, Pat? At a cost of $6,510.07 for the IT 2021 budget.
Pat O'Blander again with the Information Technology Department. Yes, Cindy, we failed to get a really complex
I
name
know,
for that.
you did good enough
particular
for
vendor.
that
We'll do
V-Block
better next
stuff.
time. These 2 pieces of equipment are uninterruptible power supplies that support the existing V-Block systems. Those are the virtualization platforms that were purchased quite a few years ago. Those V-Block systems are slated for retirement eventually, but we expect them to last another year or so while we migrate to the Nutanix platform, which is harder to say, but it's a newer platform. But we do need those to be in operation and up and reliable, and we do need them maintained for at least the next year. So if you have any questions on those, I'd be happy to answer those.
Questions? I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Our next item.
Item 5, administrative communications.
This is an opportunity for any department head or member of the public to address the commission on any item.
Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Department. I just want to plug our OK Kids program. It'll be on Saturday, September 11th from 9 to noon. It's free of charge. Yeah, kids will go out and learn about archery and fishing and other outdoor activities. It's a great program. It's co-sponsored with Kansas Wildscapes, and we encourage everybody to come out.
Great.
Where is that?
It's at the Shawnee North Nature Trail.
Shawnee North.
Yeah, it's a great program, so thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Kearney House Director of Public Works. As you all know, everyone knows, I should say, we had a culvert failure on Southeast 61st Street. I believe it was last Sunday. Residents in the neighborhood reported that they'd received 7 inches of rain between Friday and Saturday morning. I just wanted to tell the public and the commission that our intention, our goal, is to have the road open by tomorrow afternoon. So.
Great.
Good work, Kurt.
Any other administrative communications this morning? Commissioner Mays,
Nothing
anything?
from me.
Commissioner Rippon?
I think there's a ball game tonight, Washburn football.
There is. Washburn home openers this evening.
Weather's nice.
It is.
Head out.
There is a lot of activities going on this weekend in Topeka. I would encourage you to get out and appreciate the fall weather. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. NOTO is going to be going with a lot of music and events. So do try and take some time to get out. It is also emergency preparedness time, so looking at Dusty Nichols and making his speech for him, that now's the time to make those emergency plans and plan ahead. So, Madam Clerk, our next item.
Item 6, executive session.
There is a need for an executive session for 2 items. The first is for personnel matters of non-elected personnel. The second is consultation with the attorney for the body or agency which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. There is no action anticipated for these 2 items. They would be for 15 minutes apiece for a total of 30 minutes, starting at 9:40. That's a motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. We are in executive session beginning at 9:40. Hey, Jim. So I didn't. We are back from executive session. No action was taken. We are adjourned.
I have one signature, just the green tab on there, second one.